Welcome to Slamfire Radio, episode 532, recording live on Wednesday, November 15th. I'm one of your hosts, Mo.
I'm Adriel.
I'm Kyle.
I'm the guest, Tony of Calgary.
There we go.
Welcome, Tony.
Nice.
Thank you.
We have
This should save some time on reading comments from YouTube, right?
No, because there's still a few comments.
No,
there.
I still have comments there.
he's commenting
next week.
currently.
I'm
We save
double
time next
participating.
We should get Tony to read his comments, though.
Maybe
Oh,
that'll
there's
work.
an idea.
Actually, some of them will be self-explanatory while we get there.
Okay. All right.
All right, let's get started with what we did with guns. I can actually get us started. I had an IPSC match at the Lonaudière Club, which is in Joliette, Quebec. I've been there many times. It's a great indoor range, and it was 4 stages. I mentioned it before. They're narrow ranges, so they tend to be like long stages, but they still like make them fun and creative. They also do a lot of stuff like doors and ports and ropes and different things. And I've had a couple of DQs on those kind of situations once there, but it wasn't one of those. So I'm always a little bit hesitant. I didn't DQ. It was actually a pretty good match. Overall, I did good. I was happy, except I did have way too many makeup shots on steel, and there was a lot of steel. Because I struggle with when it's down range and it's a little bit dark, I don't see them as well, but old man eyes, I guess, with my iron sights. But yeah, it was so much fun, and I finished 13th out of 30 something. So my usual middle of the pack, maybe a little bit better. If I had reduced the time on the missing so much steel, I would have done a lot better. Anyways, I shot with my friends Louis and Lisa, and that was a really good squad. And they ended up giving out IPSC Quebec hats. So, I was pretty happy about that. So kind of cool to support the federation.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was pretty neat. And I actually talked to one of the guys that's on the board, because the last few years since I've been in Quebec, they've like the level 3s. I'm a sucker for like match jerseys. Like, when you get your name on it, and it's for that. And most of the Ontario level 3s do the match jerseys, right? And but Quebec hasn't done the last year. They give out a shirt, but it's the same shirt they give to everybody, like without the name and stuff. So yeah, I talked to the guy, and he's like they tried to do it last year, and they're gonna do it again. His name is Stefan, and they're gonna try to do it for next year. So that'll be cool. What else? No match registrations yet. There's not going to be one this weekend. There's going to be one in 2 weeks. And the RA Center, that club in Ottawa that I mentioned, added a match for December. So that's cool, because their next match was supposed to be January. It was nice to see another match added. My 9mm ammo from Tenda arrived. So yeah, so I've got 2,000 rounds on top of what I already had. So I'm definitely going to be good for all my winter matches, which are going to be probably 2 or 3 a month, depending on the month. So that'll keep me going for a while. I could use more just to actually do some live fire practice, but time and money, I guess. And that's really it for me. How about you, Kyle?
On Saturday, we took a drive to Lubbock and went to Cabela's in 511.
That's in Texas, right?
It is, yeah. It's about 3-hour drive from me.
Okay.
So got my truck going, and so we decided that we were going to go tour around.
Nice.
Go outside our 1-hour radius that I was stuck with the work truck.
There's your braking procedure for a new engine.
Yeah. Well, the Friday we took it to Roswell. It seemed fine then, so I was like, sure, let's take it to Lubbock. And it ran good. But yeah, a little Crystal got some shooting pants at 511. I walked out of there with a flashlight because I got a little discouraged. So I was trying on. They had actually an awesome sale on like t-shirts, and they had some light hoodies for like $10. So I went back, try them on, and just printing with everything.
Oh,
And so yeah, I didn't walk out of there with much. I grabbed a couple flannels from Cabela's and whatnot.
Isn't the standard like the 511 pants with then the button down shirt on like over top, not tucked in?
Yeah, but that doesn't work in, say, 100+ degree weather. It's starting to get to the temperature now where it's not an issue. I wear the flannel or the hoodie, and it's fine. Even actually today, I actually had to take the hoodie off because it got over 60 degrees today. So
how about a camo vest you can wear without a shirt underneath?
possibly.
Here's the two questions I have. First, how did you carry in Texas? I guess constitutional carry doesn't even matter anymore.
Well, yeah, actually, I can chamber one in Texas.
There you go.
New Mexico.
Second,
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
sorry. Does Cabela and 511 ask you to take your firearms out before you head into the store, or they're just open to it?
No, they there's nothing posted. So
Awesome.
we did
There
we
you
did go to a gun store. It was supposed to be like the largest in Lubbock or something, but I was actually very underwhelmed by it. They had like no selection for holsters because I've started taking my concealed carry a little bit more serious and trying to conceal whenever I can, basically, instead of the way I was doing it where it was once in a while. And so looking at different options, they had nothing, but they did have a sign saying that all firearms cased or holstered. So
Interesting.
So yeah, but yeah, so just trying to, and I mean, it's not a big pistol, and so I'm kind of getting frustrated with that. But been watching a bunch of videos and that, and actually, I think I might even look at concealing a larger, like a longer barrel pistol, and that, from what I've been seeing, that might help. But
H&K USP.
well, I went to the local gun shop today, and I held a Staccato CS. So
And you got big iron on his hip. 1911 pattern. There you go.
well, it feels great, but I actually gotta find someone who actually has one to see how easy it would be to conceal, because it doesn't feel like a compact pistol at all. It feels very similar to my DVC, except for a shorter barrel. So yeah, but yeah, we had a good time in Lubbock, and yeah, and now I'm just exploring options and really delving into concealed carry and how to effectively conceal carry, because I don't like even just a little bit of printing and that. But yeah, then this weekend we have 3-gun match here locally, so I'm finalizing all the details for that, and yeah, hopefully it'll be a good match and goes without a hitch. But Adriel, how about you? What have you been up to?
Oh, I was gone for a little while. So a couple things. 2 weekends ago, I did a 3-gun match with my kids.
Nice.
It was interesting. Interesting. Yeah, didn't set any speed records, them or I. I ran that straight pull rifle, and you really got to make sure that it's all the way forward hard for it to go. Otherwise, if you just go too fast, it doesn't go all the way forward, doesn't lock, and then you don't get a hit on the primer and it doesn't fire. And I did that a lot. Yeah, did that a lot. My WSMCR puked its guts out. So I got it on film too, because it was my kid shooting it. So he's shooting it, boom, boom, boom. Piston goes out through the front. There's like a little grub screw that kind of goes in to hold all the piston and all the kind of stuff together, and it left the area. Yeah, it got sent somewhere very far.
Does that kind of burst fire? One trigger pull, 2 projectiles?
No, it's the opposite. It's one trigger pull, and you get with the plug.
Off it goes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was gone. But so then he just had to run it as bolt action, just like me, for the rest of the match. At least his was spring loaded though, so he just pulled back and let go. It was cool. It was a fun match though. And then I went hunting the weekend after, and you guys, I kind of bolted Wednesday night there. I got out to my parents' place, which is where I was hunting. I had an idea of where I wanted to go, and none of the other guys had gone out hunting there yet. So I hiked out to this spot. I had a sitting bipod, so I've just got my rifle in the back there. You see that really long bipod on it? What I like to do with this, it's so steady. You get a sitting bipod like that and get a heat seat, sit on the heat seat, cross your legs, and then brace, like just do a triangle brace on the front, or sorry, on the back. So the front of it, it's got the bipod, it's solid. The back of it, solid. You can shoot a deer as far as you can see with a setup like that. And I did get a deer that was kind of far. It was 300 meters. But it didn't matter because it was like so steady. So I was like, okay, 300, I'm going to hold 5 inches higher than I want to hit, and sent it and dropped it in right through the heart. Deer didn't go very far. Jumped really high, jumped like 10 feet into the air. Blew out the other shoulder on the other side. And yeah, it still went 20 meters. But it was considered enough to die on the path. So all I had to do was just kind of rip it up to it side by side, pop it in the back, and off I went.
Nice.
So that took all of, I don't know, I think my hike was like 20 minutes, and I think I was sitting for like 10 or 15 or something like that. And so it was very quick, which allowed me to spend more time. Because like that's not the part of a hunting trip that should take the longest. The part that should take the longest is skinning and gutting, and then butchering and doing whatever you want to do with the meat. I opted to do jerky and sausage, and that takes a while, right? You typically what we'll do is skin and gut day 1, day 2, quarter it or take it down or do whatever you want to with the meat afterwards. If you're making jerky, slice it into jerky slices, get it on some cure, and then wait 24 hours. And then that day you smoke, and then let that run for 4 to 8 hours, depending on how much you've got and what you're doing, and then bag it. So it's like, it's a lot of time. There's like 3 days post deer kill that you got to spend doing stuff to make that meat usable, unless you just take it to a butcher or something like that, right? But I can't be bothered to do that. This is part of the experience for me is doing all that kind of stuff. So okay, my deer was shot. That's my deer tag. I could have went and got some supplementals, but I just didn't feel like getting that many deer. Because I've also got some tags for my brother's place here, so I might go out there yet. But so I was done with my deer. I started going after small game. I've got like a little 22 air pistol, just a pump crossman crappy thing. And most people think like, oh, you can't kill stuff with that. Nope. Works great. You just got to shoot him in the head, which I'm always trying to do anyways, because I want maximum meat. You ever shoot like a rabbit or something like that with like a shotgun? Like, oh, it's a pain in the ass to skin and gut, because now you got guts and all sorts of stuff. And you lose a bunch of meat. And then like anything else, like, oh, there's lead pellets in there. Okay, I'm going to cut it out because I don't want to like chew on lead pellets or have my kids eat this or something like that. So you got to cut that off. And then what are you left with? So I just do headshots. So I got some like grouse and rabbit and whatever too. Tested out those new muck boots, and yeah, they're good. The Arctic Pro is too hot. It was like maybe -5. It's way too warm for that. I needed like a lighter boot for those days, so I didn't really end up using that one a lot, because it's just made you need it to be at least -10, if not -20, to justify those boots. Otherwise, your feet just roast. They just get way too hot. So that was interesting. So I shot that deer at 300 through the heart. My dad's neighbor was over, and he's like, "How much you want for that hunting rifle?" I don't know. I gave him a good price, and he's like, "Okay." So I sold him my hunting rifle, and this is unusually my 3rd season using that hunting rifle. Very unusual for me. Usually it's 1 season, and then I'm on to something new. So I sold it, and I'm looking at what I should buy next. Looking
What
for
rifle was it? 6.5 Creedmoor?
Yeah, it was a 6.5 Creedmoor, just a Savage Axis, but they're more accurate than you need, right? One M away is enough to drop it in for as far as you really should be shooting a deer, right?
That is funny. You should advertise him on Maple Seed. I think that will help more. Not the rifle itself.
Yeah. Well, in this case, it was like knowing what kind of shot I was going to take and then building like a super stable position for that. Because I had no illusions that deer was going to go anywhere. I fired the shot. I heard the impact. Well, 300 is enough to like hear the shot and then hear the impact of the bullet as well. So I knew like, I'm gonna find that thing up there. But yeah, I don't know what to get next. We'll have to see. And then my buddy Will was up there, and he had connected with a Slamfire listener, and I think he watches HGG as well, Adam. And he had heard I was looking for a leader action for PAL courses.
Oh, you got one.
And he gave me this.
Nice.
This is a Norinco JW21. JW21B.
It's not rimfire?
It's rimfire.
Oh,
It's a 22, but
that's free.
the price is good.
Price is
The
right.
price was good.
Price
Yeah,
is right.
yeah. Yeah, it's got the bolt is a little bit hitchy, so I'm either just gonna sit in front of the TV and just go like this until it's worn in, or I'm gonna bust it apart and find what's wearing and get after it with my Dremel. I haven't decided which one I'm gonna do yet. Probably try the lever, just try going back and forth on it and seeing if I can wear it in. And if that doesn't work, I'll break out the Dremel. But
Just throw some lapping compound in there when you're doing that.
that can work. Yeah, that can work. But sometimes it wears away on stuff you don't want it to wear away on. It's only really on like going back in, like it doesn't want to go in there. So you just have to do it fast and it works. And it doesn't really have a safety. It has like a bit of a rebound on the hammer, but I don't think that's a real safety. So I'm not sure.
Try
Like-
to pull the trigger when it's on a half cock. Does it work?
Well, yeah, it's not cocked all the way back, so that won't won't fire it. But
So I
Maybe.
think that's very similar to
Maybe.
a Henry. So it's kind of the same idea, I think.
yeah. So that's cool. And then this vest. So this vest came in while I was gone. It would have been nice. Actually, no, I wouldn't have used it. It was too warm. I wish it was a little bit colder because it was just too nice. It was like 0 while I was hunting. But there's like a heated vest that this company sent me to like review, and I'm wearing it to look redneck right now. I think I'm being successful at that. They also sent me some heated insoles. Look at that. It's got like a little car remote on there. Beep beep. Start up the
Nice.
heat, please. And this guy here, a heated seat cushion.
Ooh.
I find the chopped foam stuff to be warm enough, but Kyle was telling me he was like, oh yeah, no, that would be really nice. So
I think so.
Man, this is my worst nightmare. Just batteries everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, but they all use power banks. They're all just USB.
Ah.
So yeah, tons of batteries, but all power banks. Which one typically
At least they're easy to replace after the battery's dead. Yeah, that's good.
Easy to replace and easy to. Oh, I don't have that. I will grab one of my many other power banks that I have available here. Let's use that instead. My Numrich order is still stuck in customs. It's been there for 10 days, 11 days now. I've got like a firing pin, some M1 Garand clips, a trigger, a bolt, just some basic stuff, but it's been there for like way too long.
Are they not ITAR?
I think Numrich knows the difference, so it's probably fine. I don't know. Hope not. Hope it comes through.
The whole ITAR export
Hopefully,
thing
yeah.
is just crazy to me. It's like
Yeah.
somehow US cares more about it than Canada does importing. It's like that's funny.
I cared more when the US dollar and Canadian dollar were on parity. I was buying a lot of stuff from the States. These days, I don't see myself doing that anytime soon. No. And then Tenda order. Yeah, Tenda order came in. It's not my rifle, but if the Black Friday sale that Tenda does, if they price this the same, I'm going to be picking this up. This is the CZ600 Alpha. It's that new triple lug. No, not triple. It's got like 6 on there. triple style, but like 2 interrupted lug on there. It's their bolt action hunting rifle. This one's in 30-06. Boop. Magazine right there.
Nice.
It's got some weird stuff on it, I'll tell you. So like the rail is machined into the receiver. No bases on there. You just get rail right there, which I like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's nice.
You know what? Let's just get a little bit more light here. The magazine release is just kind of like a push button right there. And bolts nice and slick. The weirdest thing is the safety. I think it's okay. It's just a little bit weird. There's safety on, and there's safety off.
Oh,
Cross bolt, but vertical.
Vertical cross
Interesting.
bolt. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
odd.
Weird.
oh.
I guess it's more ambidextrous.
That's true. And you can do it quietly. I'm always after a safety I can do quietly because sometimes I'm looking at a deer that's 10 meters away and I want to click that thing off without annoying it. And this one you can definitely very silently push that thing down, not hear anything, which is really nice. And then the bolt release is actually right here. So pull that guy back and push this guy down, right? Yeah, there we go. Out comes the bolt. Multi-lug kind of a doohickey here. Oh yeah, push it down. This just came in the mail today, so I'm just still learning some of the stuff on it. But adjustable trigger. Yeah, if the price goes down to $6.99 again on these, I might have to get one. The thing I don't like about it is it's a heavy barrel, but only 20 inches. I think I talked about this when I was talking about the sale, right? I want like a longer barrel and not heavy for hunting. I want something that's like going to give me that extra velocity, and I don't care. I'm not going to be taking a bunch of shots with it. So,
how far do you usually touch a target when you're hunting? I'm not. That's hard for me to say.
300 is pretty typical.
How long of a barrel do you need for 300?
I don't know, but I'd rather have the extra velocity instead of the extra weight.
Yeah.
Cool gun though. I really like that really strong pistol grip on there. Feels really good. Yeah. Looks nice. This one's in 30-06, so
Nice.
And it's got a muzzle, a threaded muzzle, so you could put, if you're in the States, you could put a suppressor on that. That would be nice, right? That would.
Yeah.
Then I wouldn't mind the short barrel, because with a suppressor on, you're going to add a bunch of length to it, so I think it would be okay. Or put a brake on it.
Yeah.
You need to wait for it to be able to pass on the sound moderators. If that's ever going to happen, I wish.
The gasoline filter. I need to put a gasoline filter on there, right?
Yeah.
China.
There you go. Awesome.
Anyways, yeah, it feels really great. So I think at that price point, it was a fantastic deal. Tony, what about you? What have you done, Guns?
After our rifle match at the BTSA, my friend Vinny, shout out to him, went back into shooting 223 semi-automatically. I was strongly pushing him to get a RDB because he is a lefty. And his RDB arrived, went to the range. It was pretty good. Shot that. I got myself my first progressive reloading press. This is the Lee Detonation Master, you can call it. This is the old generation Lee Loadmaster, which is their flagship progressive presses. But I have a very interesting priming system where it primes on the top of the stroke instead of the bottom, so you don't push forward on the handle, you would just rip it. Which in some cases, for example, non-Remington or CCI primers, Lee has warned you that there is a primer detonation risk. I got this secondhand for a very good price, so worst case, I'll just use it as a process press. I'll just not prime on it.
Lee warns about that for all. I've never had a primer detonate, even with all running the Federal, running whatever, with all their stuff. I've never ever had one detonate.
Just a side note for the listeners, if you're looking for a new Lee progressive, the 6-pack or the Pro 1000 quote-unquote 2023 version, those have an improved, more common slider priming system that eliminates that problem. So
that problem where the powder guns
Lee
are
actually
primed.
removed the warning for those two presses for this generation. Finally. So that's a big improvement. I just like good price. I just got it. That's about it. All I did for guns this week. I guess I moved all the guns over here for the show, so that's something.
Nice, nice.
What do you got on the?
That,
What is
oh,
that?
sorry.
You got a Mossberg. What else you got there?
So this is listed in. I guess we're jumping into my section, kind of. This is listed in chronological order. I believe that's correct. So from the right, from my left, your right to the left is how the time progresses. And this middle slot is for the sub 2000, but it won't fit because it's too short. Yeah. So it's the, you'll see my early days where it's very much affected by nothing fancy. So it's Winchester SXP, Turkish made, Mossberg MVP, the gun I took Maple Sea with. And then the Savage 822 FBSR, which I shot a Maple Sea with, but I didn't qualify. And then the sub 2000 on top. And this is why I'm not getting a Smith & Wesson response, unfortunately, because I won't be able to test it for Kelly there. This is the Kodiak K9. I've been running it for a bit. So half of my season is done on this rifle in particular. About 3,000 rounds through. I don't really have a problem with it. Am I allowed to bash Kodiak or no?
Absolutely.
No one's safe.
The customer service isn't very responsive, unfortunately. I was looking for a aftermarket trigger for it, but they couldn't respond to me in like 3 months' time after like 5 emails and multiple calls. So when RDSC made a sell on Trigger Tech triggers, I know I wanted a Trigger Tech, but I don't know which one is the most suitable. So I got the AR9 trigger, which I thought would be the most fitting. The other option would be probably the FX9 trigger. But there's just a tiny clearance issue with the bolt group. So if I pull it back, it will actually get hung up on the trigger itself. But if I bump it a bunch, it will actually return back into battery. But you can't shoot it that way, at least not for time trials anyway. So RDSC was kind enough for me to return that trigger after test fitting it. I didn't use it, right? But so shout out to them, I guess. Very good service there. But it's just I haven't been able to find a proper aftermarket trigger for it. The factory trigger is usable. It's AR. Every gun I have here are dual stage triggers or bladed triggers. So it's very unusual for me to shoot a single stage. I kind of got used to it, but it's kind of heavy at like 7 and some pounds.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's heavy. Yeah.
For a gamer gun, you want something lighter, but single stage.
Yeah, I've gamed out most of everything else. I was about to do a more detailed report, like an email to the Sunfire channel for this, and I'm going to title it AR is the worst gun platform, because you're going to literally buy everything you can get and try to mod it as hard as possible. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this gun in particular. But first, there was a listener earlier this year who mentioned his K9 just blew up. I'm not sure what is
Josh.
Yeah, I saw so. Yeah.
Josh.
Yeah.
I know what happened there. There's also a range mate from BTSA who showed me some pictures of his friend's K9 having a lot of finishing issues. Like half of the gun is silver at this point, which I don't understand why. But that's kind of, it's all kind of hearsay stuff. But this one working well, but again, the service isn't responsive. So like if you got this thing, you're kind of on your own, which is unfortunate.
That's unfortunate they didn't keep AR specs so that you can actually throw another trigger in there.
I wrote to Trigger Tech, and I think what they said is the AR9 world is just a wild world of everything. And the bolt height is kind of different. I believe it may also have something to do with trigger test trigger resetting in a different way. If you inspect very closely, you'll see their reset is done by pressing down on a bar instead of the hooking thing. So I don't know what's up with that. But for this gun, I try to measure it with my calipers. I think it's about 2 millimeters of clearance not there, but I don't have the appropriate measure tool to say if it's 2 millimeters or something else.
Couldn't you just now this is getting into redneck territory, but
polishing the whole bolt?
No, couldn't you Dremel the hammer? I wouldn't do the bolt, but the hammer like edge I would.
The AR9 hammer is particularly thin for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I
But
believe
you'd be like
Really?
clearing off the top, right?
Yeah.
Where the hammer is like is that correct here? Where the hammer is kind of like cocked there because it's not going down low enough, right? Is that the issue?
Yes,
so
correct.
you just like knock that down a little bit, still keeping that round profile, but just pull it down a little bit. So you wouldn't be going edgewise on it. You'd just be pulling it down.
You probably want to look up a image of a Trigger Tech AR9 trigger. It's not a traditional AR kind of shape. It's kind of interesting. And then you probably understand why. It kind of comes to a point in a sense.
Oh yeah. But you could still pull that down.
Oh, jeez.
How much do you need to pull it down?
No idea.
2 millimeters.
2 millimeters.
Oh, and it's skeletonized a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is the Timney.
Yeah, that's way more of a square edge. For sure.
Yeah.
And that's their PCC trigger.
That you could knock down.
Yeah. Yeah, you could knock that down, providing that, it'll still hit your firing pin.
Oh, redneck engineering at its finest. Jeez.
Or just put it in there and try it before taking material away.
But now I have to think,
But
where am I going to find a store to let me test fit triggers? That's just... Ugh.
Can I Dremel this hammer? If it doesn't work, can I return it?
I don't need to Dremel. I just want to test fit everything I have.
Sure, go ahead.
well, one thing you could do.
The trigger pins, you like Dremel them lower and then fill in at the top.
Oh my God.
I've done it.
Maybe I don't understand gunsmithing after all. Oh my God.
That's funny.
What I would maybe suggest doing is talk to your buddies locally and see if someone has an AR trigger you can borrow. Because I know, like with this, I ended up running my Kelvin Elite in this until the actual PCC trigger came in. Now, Timney does recommend a PCC trigger in a PCC, but I also know guys that have ran AR triggers just fine.
Mm-hmm.
I should look into that. But then I have to figure out what else trigger I like.
Well, at this point, I think you're just getting a better trigger in there that fits.
True.
Something that's compatible.
True.
Yeah.
Most of everyone at BTSA shoot trigger techs. Well, no,
Taylor should have a hyperfire or something.
Yeah, I
around.
never shot his. I shot his Raven when he still had the trigger tech in it, and then I never shot his gun ever again.
But even still, like he used to be sponsored by Hyperfire, so he should have a Hyperfire kicking around.
Cool. Just polish the WK trigger is what Mike's saying.
Eric's saying
suggesting
that's
minimal
a lot of
material removal. Gotta be with the Dremel and JB Weld, anything's possible.
Oh, the JB Weld, jeez.
And a MIG welder. Now you have the power of God in your hand.
Oh yeah. Serious business.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't
That's
work.
a
on
lot
the
of polishing to bring that trigger weight down, but it is possible, I guess.
I don't think the trigger poundage has really. Well, maybe I need to measure it again. Yeah.
Take it down and then MIG weld to some boogers on the back to add the weight back on there.
It's still a creepy trigger, so not great.
Look for something else. Yep.
Yeah.
Works though. I guess better than this. So.
Oh no, I can't actually weld. I have a welder, but to call me a weld, to say I could weld is a lie. I make booger welds.
And there's not really much welding in building a normal trigger.
There shouldn't be.
No, there shouldn't be.
If you're in Soviet Russia, the idea might be different.
Yeah, well, you're just taking your scrap bits of metal to make something at that point.
Actually, I just reminded on this rack is missing half a SKS. That's my newest acquisition of a project, and I'm trying to bring that back. It was a 1951 Russian re-arsenaled, and the conditions rifling looks fine. The exterior condition is not great. For some reason, when I was thinking, okay, so I'm gonna touch up the cold blue touch up spots, and then after I wipe it with alcohol, like paint started to disappear. It's like, oh, this isn't blue at all. Like, okay, now I have a project in front of me.
Mm-hmm. Barbecue paint.
Yeah.
Oh no, candy pink with metal fleck in it.
There
Nice.
you go.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, man.
I was going to say, thanks, Tony. We'll get into upcoming events. Rimfire events coming up you can find on www.btsa.ca/events. And there is a USPSA multi-gun nationals, which is going to be held July 19th to 21st next year, of course. And that's it. If you're into IPSC, there's lots of indoor matches going on. So if you're an IPSC guy, check out the websites.
I don't think there's IPSC indoor matches in Alberta, is there?
Last I heard, all the indoor matches in Alberta raised their rates, so IPSC Alberta was saying basically, nope, we're done with that because we're not going to pay the rates you guys want to use the range.
Is that right?
They used to do unsanctioned like level 1 matches at Phoenix in Edmonton, but
yeah, they did their own little shoot night thing. Yeah.
Really? Huh. I did
I
not
haven't
know
heard
that.
about action shooting indoors in Alberta, really. So.
Oh, there was another event, but now we can
Fort
get
Mac
that
has
next
indoor,
week.
but I don't think they can run action shoot. Well, maybe they can. I don't know.
That's interesting. Yeah, Ontario and Quebec had tons. So, okay, we have no news stories this week. I guess not much gun-related happened.
There is technically one I can bring up. There's like 5 shootings in Calgary over 5 days or something. And there's 2
we had a bunch in Edmonton too. A bunch of gangs like fighting each other and killing each other.
There's like 2 suspects, one 18 and one of them is like his little brother 14. Like just shot someone dead and ran away.
Yep, there was just a gang killing here in Edmonton where they killed the dad and the 10-year-old son.
I've heard about that one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then.
Gangster stuff.
Yeah, gangsters being gangsters, right? We'll get into new gun stuff brought to you by Bullseye North. Need a new boomstick? Bullseye North is Canada's shooting superstore and a proud supporter of the CCFR with a wide selection of guns and top trending gear for any shooter. Free shipping over $250. Some exclusions apply, like ammo. Subscribe to their weekly newsletter to get first access to the hottest deals.
Can I yell at Mo?
Huh?
Can I yell at Mo?
What do you say?
He said excluding ammo. We need to change the talking point.
Some exclusions.
Some
apply
exclusions
like ammo.
apply, like ammo.
No,
That's
ammo,
in there. He's reading the script though. If our script is
thought-
wrong, that's not his fault.
All right. I think
Some
ammo's
ex-
Here, wait. Some exclusions apply. There. Now it just says some exclusions apply. And I think that's if like you're in buttfuck nowhere. Like if you're in the Yukon or something like that.
I'm
like, no,
surprised
hey,
Bull I didn't call us up and say, hey, you're reading stuff wrong. We're trying to steal cells from Tanda. Come on.
That's exactly what they're trying to do. Okay, so they've got a bunch of Henry rifle stuff. They've got the Henry Big Boy lever action 45 Colt, blacked out one, synthetic.
Like it.
Yeah, the Henry Mini Bolt 22 LR.
I didn't know Harry had a bolt action. That's
yeah, it looks
interesting.
kind of like a cricket. Looks kind of like a cricket.
Huh.
Yeah, this Henry side gate lever action in 410.
Nice.
Hander lever and 22. Oh, the price of those has gone up so much. They used to be so cheap.
Yeah.
Wait, what's the difference here? H001.
One
Shorter
probably have
barrel?
a short barrel. Yeah.
Shorter barrel, yeah,
16.
16. Yeah. Oh, there's 20-inch octagonal. There's an octagon pump action. I didn't know anyone still made a pump action 22. I hate pump action 22s.
Why?
Like they're so hinky, like oh, it feels terrible moving them. Cool. They got a bunch of stuff over at Bullseye.
Nice.
FOC has 10% off store wide right now for Black Friday. So Black Friday sales are coming up, right?
Yeah, sure.
November 24th, I believe. So watch for sales coming up. Don't spend yet unless you see something that's like a tremendously good deal, because some of these will be a tremendously good deal, right? Anyways, they got that going on. Reliable Gun. They have their customer appreciation sale. There was a couple of things in here that were really good prices. This is their second price drop. I think I saw 6.5 Creedmoor for $25 a box. I don't know what that is. It's probably FMJ or something like that, but that's still a great deal. Mini mag for 5,000 rounds, $500, 10 cents a round. Yeah, I dig it.
Good.
Yeah, that's good. They have Challenger slug and buck cans, $200 for that. I think those are 250 rounds each, so that's a pretty decent deal. And then even on the small stuff, look at this Blazer 525 round value pack, $40. That's decent. That's under what that's been anywhere, I think, that I've seen. They got a couple of like optics on as well. I was looking at this Holosun 510C. They got it down at $359. Pretty decent. If you're into fancy binos, they got some Steiner HX 10x42s for $650, and so on and so forth. So they got some pretty good prices. CZ 457 training rifle, $600.
10% off magazines. If you're looking for some hard to find magazines, that'll be good.
Okay, so I've been looking at different hunting rifles, and I was thinking, yeah, maybe I'll get a Howa. And I looked at the price, and like, man, that's too much for a basic bitch bolt action like hunting rifle.
What price range are you in?
Well, price range for me? Oh, all over the place. But it has to be on sale.
Yeah. You should have grabbed one of the Savage 110s.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's more of a target gun though. Very long barrel, I believe.
I've shot deer with 338 Lapua target rifles and heavy barrel 308s, and yeah,
show up the deer cam was a 50 BMG. There you go.
I wish. That's not going to happen these days. Maybe the 338 might again, but that's a bit silly.
Is 338 banned right now? I didn't even know.
No, it's not. You can use 338 Lapua.
The 460 technically is.
Up into 460. Yeah. I think there is still a 460 that you might be able to use.
Just not 460 Weatherby.
Yeah.
Oh my God. My dog came in here and farted. This thing so bad. Anyways, Prop River has Howa specials just in time for Christmas. They got them at a special price, $6.99. They got them in 223, 243, 6.5 Creedmoor, 308, etc., 22-inch barrel, and guaranteed sub MOA, 3 shots with premium factory ammo, lifetime warranty.
Does it take AR-15 magazines? It does not.
No. Air mags with that. So that was on one side that I was looking at. Here's on the other side. Inner Surplus has over 40 more Swedish M96 rifles added. These are all budget-friendly rifles under $350.
Nice.
So if you wanted something in like 6.5 Creed, they got, or not 6.5 Creed, 6.5 Swede. They've got those.
They're available and just 6. I'll go with that.
A 30-06 or 270, or they got lots of different stuff. Yeah. Neat. Yeah. And that would be, I don't know, kind of a classy rifle. And the last one I had, Kenda had the Springfield Model 2020 rimfire on sale. This one's got like a fancier kind of a target stock. This one takes the Ruger 1022 mags, and it's bolt action. Nice. Yeah, Springfield Armory. So I haven't seen any reviews of this, so I'm not sure how it does, but it says guaranteed to shoot 1 inch or less at 50 yards with quality ammunition. So
still pretty new.
Right.
Although I don't understand why it's called the Model 2020, but it's made in 2023. The whole thing is crazy. It's like, what's going on? I don't know
Yeah.
if it qualifies in the production class for ORPS. It might though. The price, well,
It might on that price, yeah.
it's
Gotta
going
really
to be
consider
close
these
to the
things.
cutting point.
Yeah. Anyways, that's that, and I don't have anything else. Oh wait, Sporting Rifle saying stay away from Aguila 6.5 10 MOA group. Okay, well.
Oh, the
10
boy.
MOA group.
Oh,
Wow.
Now, did you try 6.5 Creedmoor in your 6.5 Swede? Is that the problem here? I'm joking. He knows the difference. Just get out.
How's
1
it
inch
that
at 50
bad?
yards is huge for a 22. Yeah, it's not a very difficult guarantee of accuracy, I guess you could say. Like a really good quality 22 can do like half-inch groups at 50 yards. So 1 inch is not really too much to say, but I'm sure they're just doing that because it's a guarantee and they don't want to do too much. I also don't think it could do half-inch groups at 50 yards. Need something better for that. Probably CZ 457 would do that. Anywho, that's all I found for new gun stuff.
good stuff. And for our main topic, we have our super fan Tony to talk to us about how he got into shooting and the show and various things. So, Tony, how'd you get into the guns and shooting?
Thank you, Mo. It's a long story. I'll put in a few disclaimer first. My thoughts often jumps around, so if I start rambling, like stop me in live chat.
Fit right in.
Type skip or something. I don't know. So I've been a firearm owner for 2 years. Started with the guy on the right, the SXP. I started with a shotgun, which is, in retrospect, probably not the best idea. I didn't
It's
mind
all
it
right.
because I didn't mind recoil, but if you're recoil sensitive, I wouldn't do it. And a PCC competition participant for about a year. Already acquired 2 guns, so this hobby does get a little expensive over time. I won't call myself a competitor because I'm not quite competitive enough. The last score I did was in the BTSA USPSA match. I was about 60%. Compared to Taylor or Justin, who are first and third place finishers at PCC Nationals this year, which is a bit of an improvement than my first match, which I did about 50% that. So in terms of sport shooting, I've only really got into the game for about a year. First of all, I will say, as one great Canadian content creator once said, his name is Linus Sebastian. Every media piece should have a learning outcome. And I'll start with the too long didn't read version of that, just so if someone's in a hurry. But I bet you will learn something from this video. So do come back to either finish listening or finish watching. So there's really 5 things I want to talk about in 2 groups, things I didn't do at all and things I did too late. And to start would be things I did too late, and it will be your homework assignment for today. There will be mandatory listening / watching of Slamfire Radio, which is going to be really helpful. It sounds like an ad, but I promise it's not it's going to be backed up with evidence. And secondly, you should go watch the CCFR Canada Downrange series and explore the possibilities of a lot of shooting sports. That's actually how I found BTSA as my home range. I personally, I don't hunt, so this video is going to revolve more on the sport shooting side of things, unless you count blowing up gophers with 12-gauge shotgun, as I did with this guy, as hunting. But I don't know. I didn't recover anything. It just
Eradication.
Eradication.
I'm not very good at that either, though. Just I blow one up and then they all disappear into the ground. I don't have the patience to wait, and then I leave. And then second time, it's like my warm-up shot. Boom, just one bullet. I've done it a few times at a Crown Land. So yeah. So more about my background. I was originally born in Shanghai, China. I lived there 14 years. And as some of you may know, that firearm ownership is basically not a thing. Surprisingly, it is a thing, but pretty much not a thing in China. There's like a civil war, China Civil War, and then Sino-Japanese War, a veteran who got to hold on to his twin Mauser pistols, I want to say, because his superior at the time gave it to him, and he have a license to possess but not to carry. And there's this traditional tribe in Guizhou, China. They have like hunting rights, and I guess you can call it carry. It's pretty well documented. They are a community of like 2,000 some people, and a handful of them can have a firearm. Mostly like traditional, either passed down through a generation or like homemade black powder guns. But they do have Type 56 semi-autos or SKSs issued by the government at times. From what I know from my dad, when he was still a kid, air rifles was legal in China, but then he doesn't know what happened to them. It just kind of became obscure and then just unavailable. When I was still a kid, airsoft is still less of a gray area. If you have, for example, an air pistol that shoots steel BBs, that would be kind of a problem. That would be considered as a, how to say, replica. So
they probably learned their lesson from shooting all the sparrows too in the earlier half of the century there.
Yeah, or how they came to power, things like that. They don't want that to happen. I don't think any Chinese officials are watching, so it's okay.
I shot a handgun in China, a revolver. Yeah.
Huh. I know there are ranges in China that's like heavily regulated.
This is not a range. I paid a cop to shoot his revolver.
That is funny. Actually, Adriel, which years were you in China?
This had been in the early 2000s. They're 2002 to 2006, somewhere around there.
And like cops carrying guns in China is pretty rare.
Yeah.
I don't even know if there's a revolver ever seen in China. Anyway, it's just my personal experience though. So me and my buddies, when we were young, would be riding around the community on bikes and then like doing target shooting stuff. Sounds like the biker gang in a sense. And for some reason, my teachers is more concerned about us riding bikes too quick, not about airsofting. That's funny. But doing things only safely-ish. I did have an ND on my finger. It was a bad one. Right in the finger, and there was a pretty good blood blister. I think that's the only time I ND'd on myself. Not enough firearm training. Of course, first-person shooter games at the time was still a thing. Although, like, there's some like art censorship. You can't have blood splatter, so it's like
they do it in white.
Dust splatter. It's like grayish, whatever things.
So what'd you do when you got to Canada then? What got you back into it here?
So I actually kind of took a break from any kind of shooting, really, because when I first came here, language was a big barrier, and I didn't really think about it that much. It was kind of in the back of my head because my dad said, "Oh, you can have a gun here." I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." But to me, what the priority really is driving, because I was really into cars ever since I was like 2, 3. I went to driving school with my dad back in the day. I was like still in kindergarten or something on the weekends. And for us, driving age is 18 in China, but you can get your learner in Alberta at 14. It's like Canada must be some crazy paradise. You can drive so young. It's really funny. So really studying and driving was really on my head more or less. I did started to like subscribe to some YouTube channels, Not That Fancy being one of them, which influenced my purchase decision. But I'll say overall, he can be considered in Canada as kind of a quote unquote bad influence just because what he does. And if you don't have a reality check in Canada, you would either think things are legal but they're not, or you will think things that he doesn't mention because he is not, for example, sports shooter, so you wouldn't really learn about that side of the whole story.
Mhm.
And all of his range videos usually him shooting for accuracy in a straight line, which I thought that's kind of boring over time.
But you can learn about the second kind of type of cool. That's more important.
That's true.
Right?
There you go. You have your get out of jail free card. I don't really think I have a second cool gun here. Maybe the SKS.
I don't even know if it's defined. I don't think it's
Yeah.
defined very well.
That's what it is. And also at the time I watched a lot of Civil Advantage, if some of you may still remember. But really at the time I was just kind of watching and things are kind of just flying over my head. It's like, I don't know what half the things you're talking about. What is that? Magazine hold open, this, that, length of pull, like just terms everywhere. So schools to school, and then went to university. Here's one of my first big mistake in terms of the things I didn't do. I did not join the University of Calgary shooting club because I didn't have a gun. So the big thing I would say to any potential or new firearm owner is go join a organization, shooting organization, or some kind of range organization. In your organization, for example, if you're in school or if you know there's colleagues who shoots, like ask about it. And I think the firearms community is great in that regard, as in we're a very welcoming community. It's just, every time I bring up that I don't have a black badge and I don't have a pistol, like everyone's like offering, "Hey, Tony, go take your black badge, go borrow my pistol." It's like that's amazing. I haven't seen a lot of community that does that. Just saying, "Hey, just go shoot my gun." It's like there is wear on these things, and people are being generous about it, which is great. So busy with school. I kind of planned my school in a particular way that I took more senior courses to start. And then things kind of got easier over time. And then COVID struck. So I didn't have the chance to join the club. I didn't have the chance to take a firearm course. Just doing more school from home. At the time, I got into photography a bit, shooting pictures, not bullets, but anyway. So after COVID, I went to the Calgary Shooting Center with one of my high school buddies who just came back from Edmonton from school. He was like, "Okay, we're gonna go get our PLs," but he was kind of not that into shooting sports. He still isn't. So I was like, shooting center is in the southeast. I'm in the northwest. That's a 30-kilometer drive. I don't really want to do that. Joke's on me. Now I work in the southeast, so I have to do the drive every day. I was like, I don't want to drive the extra day and do that. And my buddy won't be there anyway. So I was just going to take the PAL course. I didn't know there's outdoor ranges that's more affordable. It's like, if I have to shoot in a line 25 yards with a pistol at the shooting center, which is super far away, and I can't do any movements, like what's really the point? So I omitted the RPAL section, regrettably at this point, looking back, because the whole piece is centered around lack of knowledge. I didn't know there's shooting sports. I didn't know there's ranges that's more accessible, available, more affordable, things along those lines.
But like during university or slightly after university, you're always like, I don't know. I was poor after then, so I couldn't afford to buy a bunch of handguns anyways, right? So
that's true, but I started working right after that. So, but I would say if a listener is on the fence about it, I'll say, as the leader of the CCFR or the channel owner of Silver Vantage, Rod Gotaka, you might have heard about his name. If so, he is a big advocate of getting RPAL right out of the gate. I'll say, do it, just in case. I know now isn't the time because you can't get a pistol anyway, but if I knew a little bit more about shooting sports at the time, if I were to get an RPAL, I would have had a pistol today.
Yeah.
So it's not really about how many things you have, but like now I'm really excluded from more than half of IPSC sports. First, I don't have a pistol, so I can't really shoot a lot of things. Second, I can't have a black badge. Now, I can't even shoot official IPSC PCC matches. So just things started to cascade in a bad way after a little bit.
Well, you make a good point with the RPAL, and I would say even today, if you're going for a PAL and there is an option to take the RPAL, take it. I did the same thing when I got my PAL. I'm getting my PAL for hunting. I have no interest in shooting pistols because I have to go to a range. I grew up hunting, not sport shooting.
Yeah.
So I did the same thing, and then got a 3-gun, found 3-gun, and okay, well, now I gotta go get my RPAL. Now you're waiting 6 months for your license.
Get
And
a
now, like what you're just
reprocess.
saying, if tomorrow all of a sudden you can buy pistols, there's going to be a rush on RPAL courses, and licenses is already backed up with trying to get licenses out. Imagine if all of a sudden you can start buying and selling handguns again.
It's just
Oh,
to
yeah.
prevent sudden changes. And in the current landscape, sudden changes are sudden and often somehow, but it's just kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to say, unfortunately, the firearm community is a quiet bunch in Canada. It's not like we're in Texas. It's been one of their staples. Like, oh, Texas guns, okay, it's Cowboys guns, and the community is much bigger than we know. But it's just as an outsider, you wouldn't know much about it. The other two things I want to bring up that I never did was go to a national range day. I believe it's going to be June the 1st of next year, and find a local range that have it, and you can shoot free guns, free ammo, and probably have a barbecue. How awesome is that, right? I attended the national range day after I became a member of BTSA, and I introduced one of my friend to it, although he didn't jump on board, but he does now understand our perspective a little bit better, which is good. And what was the last thing I was about to mention? I have random printouts that might help. Oh yeah, I already mentioned it. So it's the first thing is join any shooting groups or hunting organizations that's within your organization. Second is if you decide to join us, definitely do your RPAL course from the get-go. It's not much more money. It's the same amount of processing time. It's great. And on a side, if you really want to join us, join the CCFR. It's a great cause. And the last thing is join National Range Day. I think it's really going to help you see what is available there. For example, at BTSA, we had IDPA, we had IPSC, we had Steel Challenge, and we had Rimfire League, ORPS. So that's a good mixture of everything. And I did find BTSA after watching CCFR downrange. I was like, oh, Steel Challenge, that's cool. So I was like, oh, I should get into this range. So that's after I actually shot my maple seed with my center fire rifle. I was like, oh, I'm not really a big fan of rimfires. So it's like, okay. So I got myself a rimfire, Savage 822. It's kind of on Adriel's recommendation just because it's easy to clean. And I don't tend to shoot it that often. So that's a good purchasing decision. And after that, I was hanging out at one of the rimfire events. I met Taylor, and Taylor said, hey, shoot PCC with us. And it's like, cool. Got a PCC? It's like, and I was looking at modification parts for the sub 2000s. Like, they're getting kind of pricey. For example, the flip around optic mount, so you can fold a gun, even if you have an optic on it, it's like $200-300. Depends on which one you get. There's a Midwest Industry one, and there's a Carvel one. The only modification part I have on the sub 2K right now is the enlarged charging handle, which is a necessity if you want to run a sub 2000, and then just a hand stop kit from Magpul. Magpul, there we go. So I thought, okay, it's a good opportunity for me to go to kind of a different magazine release style, magazine insert in the front, I really wanted the last round hold open because 10 round max, and my current stage planning kind of involves a lot of shooting the 11th shot and doing a reload on this gun because your charging handle is on the back. It's much slower. So one thing lead to another. I was looking at the FX9. I was looking at the K9. I was like, I'll give the K9 a shot. After I had some not very good experience with the FX9, as in for some reason, the magazine lockback, the last round hold open doesn't work all the time. So far, I haven't observed that issue on a K9 yet, so that's good. The drawback of the K9, except the aforementioned customer service, is the buffer system. It uses a standard AR buffer 2, standard stock, but the buffer itself, the metal piece, is actually proprietary. It actually protrudes into the action, so which is a little strange for I guess that's probably why it's not considered as an AR9. But that means you can't really do buffer weight tuning if you really want to go racing. I don't know. I will say if you want to get into PCC, wait for the response. That seems to be kind of the best option. Takes Glock mags, takes AR parts from a big manufacturer. Hopefully got good service. I haven't had any Smith & Wesson products, so I can't really comment on that. But the Raven have its issues. Although the Champion does shoot one, so I guess you can go that way. But the Raven's really expensive too. It's like $3,000 up if you want a last round hold open for a 9mm. That's a lot.
It makes sense on 223 because like on 223 the gas system on those is just way better than the 180s and that kind of thing. You're not going to break a piston because there is no piston. On the 9mm, I don't know if it's worth it for that. Like, I don't mind having that click or just reloading on the move. It's fine.
Yeah, last round hold open isn't a big thing for me. In fact, I actually tuned my pistol so it doesn't. So
What? Why?
because actually 2011 mags years ago were actually unreliable for that last round hold open. So basically, if you went click, it was always just the same reload. You load, rack your slide, and go instead of
Yeah,
So
make it
actually-
consistent. Either there is it or there isn't.
2011 is actually a lot of people make them so that they don't do last round hold open.
Also, the lever is kind of far away to reach, though.
Well, far
At least on a
or
firehand.
small. It's small, and I've never liked operating that. And he was like, okay, a Glock, yeah. But then with the Glock and you get oversized, I would actually end up hitting that and it wouldn't hold open because I was riding it. So
Cool.
And when it comes to listening to the show, when did you start listening? What got you into it?
Probably Adriel again, which means it's probably Ronco. Where did I find Ronco? I don't remember. I think it was YouTube. Anyway, so Adriel must be mentioning the show. I think that's how I found Maple Seed too. I've started listening about a year ago. I was honored to be mentioned on episode 500. That was very nice. I don't really recall how I found Adriel. Well, how I found Sandfire Radio in particular, but I just started listening. I was like, oh, this is very relevant Canadian content. I love it. And just listening to different topics, different people coming on. It's like, oh, I learned a little bit about cowboy action today. That's good. Although I'm not planning to shoot it right now, but it could be a direction I'm going. Learn about IPSC, learn about black badge, how to prepare for a black badge. I don't have any equipment to do that. Things like that. Or it's good to follow up on the news, right? Like, for example, the handgun freeze came out. I have no idea that happened even. Like, that's after I started listening to the show. It's like, oh, that already happened. So I can't have a handgun. That's great. So things like that.
Cool.
Nice. Do you guys have any questions for Tony?
Yeah, I've been jumping in wherever I need to.
Yeah, he covered a lot of stuff. So Anything you want to plug? But I mean, we're going to have our shout outs anyways, but anything you want to plug?
Maybe the CCFR. I don't know. I've already plugged the CCFR a few times.
Yeah.
A few times. Sapphire Radio a few times. I guess go watch Adriel and the Hunting Gear Guy. You got to rebrand the channel again. I've told you a lot of times. And then go watch
Camping
Marco
gear
and-
guy, competitive
Yeah.
shooting guy, sometimes hunting gear.
Hunts once a year and then do all the other contents all year round.
Actually, I got a question for you, Tony. We
Sounds good.
talked about how you got into shooting and then stuff you didn't do and then wish you had done. What's your future in shooting looking like?
Probably staying with action shooting for a bit. I'm waiting for Adriel to do the R PAL course. I'm waiting to take his R PAL course.
Nice.
And then the plan is, as things change, I'll be driving up to Red Deer, picking up a 1911, and then I'll probably primary gun for a bit.
Oh,
I know it's interesting because the 1911 doesn't get a lot of press in, shooting games, for example. But just the first time I saw it, it's like, I want that. I don't want a Deagle. I want that. So.
agreed. Okay, thanks, Tony, and we'll continue with the rest of the show. And you didn't send us an email this week. It looks like. What happened?
No, that would have been too much. Triple participation, that would have been too much.
All right, that's cool. You got a week off. Kyle, you want to cover the YouTube event? YouTube comments?
Well, I was going to, but seeing as all the comments for YouTube in the last week were Tony's, I think it'd be only right if Tony went through them.
All right, Tony.
How am I going to read it, though? I don't have access to your channel.
Well, they're all on episode 531.
Let me see. Maybe let my keyboard clock away and see if I can find them. Should mute myself.
I'm going to read Richard's comment in the meantime. So Richard said, sounds like there's an active move to bring a PCC black badge to Canada in fall. It was posted on the BC IPSC page late August. Hopefully this will allow Tony to join us in IPSC. So yeah,
I keep saying it.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's a great idea. So
I don't know where the hidden resistance is. I believe some people might say like black badge is about having a pistol and having a holster and having to draw.
No, I think it's they probably just don't want to change the rules mid-season. So like over the winter, that makes it for a cleaner break on changing the rules like this. That's what we're waiting for three gun, I believe.
Change what rules?
I don't know, the black badge. How do you do it?
It's still an IPSC match. Like Shotgun Nationals back in 2019. You still needed to have a black badge to attend that for Shotgun Nationals.
So how do you get what Richard is saying is a PCC black badge. Yeah. So that would be like changing it so that you can do a black badge with a PCC instead of a pistol.
Yeah, that's just developing a course specific for that. Like,
I'll be honest, I'll believe it when I
see it, because they were talking about doing a non-restricted or a long gun black badge back in 2019.
But now there's now, like back then you could have said like just go buy a handgun and now you can't, right? There's now a class of people that are excluded because they didn't get in at the right time. So
we've want the sport to grow or the organization to grow. They have to to expand.
Absolutely.
Right? It's an unfortunate situation. Like the only division you can join right now is PCC. I guess you can mod it as much as you want, but I'll be on the Alberta Black Badge PCC beta tester list if that's ever a thing.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I've shot this style of matches. All right. I found the comments I made. I've made 3. Hopefully that's correct.
Yeah,
the first thing was about Savage Rimfires. They're Canadian made and decent quality. For example, this one. I won't call them top notch just because the stock is kind of cheap. Plastic parts is a little cheap, but they work pretty well. And for at least for the A22, I think it, in my heart, really became the new modern standard for a basic 22. If my friend want a semi-auto 22 that's not too fancy, they're not going to race with it, I'll say get this just because it's easy to clean, easy to maintain. And for rimfire guns, you really do need to tear them apart once in a while. I was looking at the when I was buying this gun, I was looking at the Savage 64 Precision, and then I watched Adriel's video. I was like, nope. God, no.
Woo! Save bullet dodged.
Oh, geez, that looks like a job. And I guess a context for me would be for all the PCs, all the blowback guns I have, all the semi-autos I have, I clean them every time I go out to shoot. Not very aggressively. I don't really clean the bore that often, but I would take them apart, alcohol, carbon dissolvers, and I'll clean the bolts. I'll re-loop them. Haven't given me any problem so far. So that's my cleaning schedule. And then 2 comments on the Henry Homesteader, which was on my radar when I was buying this, but it's really more of a classy gun than a race gun. The direct competitor I see is probably the Chiappa M19, which is like a M1 carbine in 9mm, although that thing hasn't been tested thoroughly. Looks kind of cool. Uses Beretta magazines, but I've heard either had reliability issues. Also, it doesn't quite look like M1. So it's.
I saw one in a match recently. It looked cool. It was a cool gun for, especially for the price. Like the price is very.
It goes on sale pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's the PC carbine. That's pretty much like it's also pretty reasonably priced.
That's true. Also, for any potential carbine buyers out there, there is a I forgot who makes it. I think they're called Jarbone or something. Not Tandem Cross. Maybe Tandem Cross do have them too, but you can have a fire in hand mag release for it, which will improve the whole thing a lot. I think. For the Keltec, you are doing the same hand, but the release is so small. You can have the what's their name? M-Carbo extend the pedal, but you have to tear the whole gun apart. And this is a classic Keltec. You have to split it in half. I don't want to do that, so that didn't happen. Actually, Adriel, what happened to your modded out Sub 2000 that you did a video on? Was that your gun or is it someone else's gun?
My buddy's. That was my buddy's gun. Still has it. Still shoots it. I love it. The Sub 2000s are really cool. If I was to just buy like a PCC out of the box and I wanted something that was like compact, could go to the range and that kind of thing, I'd get a Sub 2000.
It's just
I
not
hear good thing about the FPC too, right?
Yeah, that's fair. But FPCs don't take Glock mags.
Yeah.
I don't know. After paying $20 per magazine, you don't want to go back to anything else.
Yeah. There's 2 guys that shoot in my 3-gun league that use Sub 2000s. It's weird, and they're really small.
Works well.
They run them. Yeah.
Works well. And surprisingly, the plastic Picatinny rails hold true. So I don't have a complaint about that. It's just the stock isn't comfortable, but if you have a 3D printer, you can solve that problem pretty easily. I think that's a big benefit for Keltec guns. It just, if you put a 3D printed part on it, it doesn't feel out of place because the whole thing is plastic anyway. It feels fine. Back to the Homesteader, they have interchangeable mag wells, so they will be able to take Glock mags. Although I don't think Iron Guns listing is correct because that magazine is used on a Homesteader alone and nothing else. So I'm guessing what come was the Henry Magwell, but only a 5-round mag. That I'm not too sure. I don't think Henry makes a semi-auto pistol. At least I haven't heard. And I commented on that. We haven't seen any Canadian edition specific Henrys yet, just because they don't do semi-auto stuff so far until now. And other lever guns, they can be as short as they want, right? So, but maybe we'll have an 18.6 Homesteader. That'll be good. A lot of manufacturers don't adjust the recoil settings on the 18.6 barrels. You have a longer dwell time, I guess you'll call it, but then your rear assembly is still the same, so you have additional recoil. That's kind of the story was the Caltech. It's reliable, but you're gonna feel the kick a little bit more. Also, it's light.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that too.
Which comment are we on now?
I think that's all the comments I had.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
If you go to our website, slamfireradio.com, you'll find a Cabela's link. If you purchase using the Cabela's link, you'll help support the show. We'd really appreciate it.
Are we
And-
reading the purchases this week?
Yes, we are.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we have a Ruger 1022 BX trigger assembly. There was 3 of them purchased, looks like.
One of them is Dave's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruger 1022 mags. There were a few of them. There was a Nork 762 by 39 ammo.
That was a good price on that, like 50 cents per non-corrosive.
Right on.
Are they guaranteed non-corrosive though?
You can't guarantee anything in life.
At that point, I'll just buy a crate and then shoot in and clean it more often. That'd be me.
We have a men's merino base layer top and bottom.
Nice.
Nice.
Cabela 64 gun safe.
That one was
Ooh.
64
Yeah,
pounds.
that's-
What?
It's got to be a big boy.
How,
that must have
how do
been
you use that
pickup,
thing?
right? Not
Yeah.
delivery.
Is it free to? Oh, I guess it's oversized.
No.
Yeah, that would be huge. And last, we have a Cabela's Covenant 5.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there's scopes
first
there.
local. Yeah.
so those are the purchases. Thank you. If you can also support the show through Patreon and Player. If you'd like to email the show like Tony does, you could do so at slamfireradio@gmail.com. And we'll get into the shoutouts. Tony?
Richard just said no shooting mats. That's so.
It's
That's
off
how might
season.
be in October. It's funny. I had my shooting mat before I went to Maple Sea, but I did use it. It's pretty nice. A few shout outs. First shout out to Rod and the CCFR for having the Canada Downrange series, having the national range that I think is really helping us in terms of publicity, and for me personally, helping me find a local range, which is super nice. I'll shout out to everyone I've met at BTSA. The community is great, super nice people. Especially special shout out to our PCC national champion Taylor for introducing me to the sport. I guess you did cost me a lot of money, but I'm having a lot of fun, so that's awesome. I think that's all the shout out I have for today. I guess a shout out to everyone at Slamfire Radio for introducing me to a lot of the shooting sports, shooting disciplines, a lot of tips here and there.
Good. Glad to hear that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like for me, I got into IPSC listening to Trevor talk about it, right? So now I feel like I like to talk about the matches. I'm not great at it, but I enjoy doing it and it's fun. And I hope that like people listening, like, oh, that's they think, oh, that sounds cool. Let me try it out, right? So
my question is just how we're going to get our publicity out there. It's hard unless somehow we can add it to the firearm safety program.
Yeah, and you mentioned it about like Canadians being shy about it, that we don't talk about it. But I'm at the point where I talk like with coworkers that have know nothing about guns, and I'll tell them about the matches and stuff, and most of them are pretty cool about it. They seem interested, let's say, right? And I think everybody should be doing that. You might get some static, but who cares?
Well, and that's where you start. Like, hey, work Monday morning. How's your weekend? Oh, I went and did this.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you doing tonight? Oh, I'm gonna head to the range, do some training, do some practice or whatever. And that's how you start.
It's
Yeah.
kind
I
of
have a
easier.
feeling that it's just very different in Alberta versus like other provinces.
Yeah.
Because
Well, yeah.
I've got a girlfriend of a buddy of mine, and we took her out hunting, and we crossed a highway, and we had guns, and she's like, "Is this normal around here? Like, are we going to get in trouble for doing this?" I was like,
Yeah.
"No, it's
Yeah.
November. Yeah, you're going to see some armed people around Alberta rurally." And even like at work, like I'm going to bring some deer jerky to my work function on Friday. and no one's gonna bat an eye at it. It's just like, well,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a different culture, and outside of Alberta, let's say.
I was bringing that up too because it seems like we're preaching to the choir, at least for me and Adriel and
Yeah.
Kyle
Yeah,
when he was
yeah.
still in Alberta. It's like everyone, some people know more about it. Some people are thinking,
Yeah.
well, when I returned from a weekend, when people ask, I was like, I went to the range, and people start to have a conversation, and sometimes they'll ask, hey, what is the definition of an assault weapon in your opinion? Things like that. It's a good conversation to have, but like half of my colleagues hunt, so it's
Yeah.
not like
And,
making a huge difference there.
yeah, and in some areas of the country, like more people than not, like in rural Alberta, more people than not have firearms. In the
Yeah.
city, 1 out of 10 like households, something like that in Alberta at least. So like
Still
around
good
my neighbors,
percentage.
like I have no problem talking about like, oh yeah, I go deer hunting and that kind of thing, like to shoot clays, and if you start with something like that, people be like, oh, I'm into that and more, and then make some good buddies that are
That's
around here.
pretty neat.
Mhm.
Kyle?
I'm gonna shout out Tony for
Thank
just
you.
being such a big fan, commenting all the time, sending the emails, watching all the shows, and thanks for coming on tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just hope I didn't ramble too much.
No,
Often do that.
All good stuff.
it was
All
good.
stuff. Adriel?
Yeah, you guys for taking the show last week so I could head off hunting and I didn't have to do anything. It all just happened.
You're allowed a week off, Adriel. It's okay.
Question to Adriel.
1 week a year off. No.
You're good for the other 50-ish episodes.
How many deers would you take in one season?
Average is 1.
Average.
But average is 1. But some years more, because there's been some years where I've gotten my deer and 2 supplementals, so like 3 deers, 3 deers at max.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. Kyle, you're gonna say something?
I was gonna say basically the same thing. Like I would shoot for 3 deer because you'd have your general tag and your 2 supplementals.
At some point, it ends up being too much meat, right? Like,
Yeah.
you have to you either have to get a bigger freezer, or your family has to get a lot cooler about eating deer sausage and deer meat, like for every meal.
Well, thing is, we did
meat.
do
Come on.
that. Like I would go out get my moose in archery season. That was our steaks, our roasts. That is basically our essentials. And then the deer turn into sausage. And
Nice.
Like I have 20 pounds of jerky and 20 pounds of sausage in my house. It's a lot of meat. That's way too much for my family to go through. So
Can I buy
at some
jerky
point
off for you?
no, you can't. 'Cause you can't sell it.
I didn't even know.
I can give it to you.
It's-
Yeah. I should get my hunting license, but just
Yeah, you
I don't
should.
have a truck. My parents
don't
probably
need a
don't
truck.
want to eat.
No, you
wild
don't need a
game.
truck.
No.
What you do need is someone who's willing to go with you hunting, because you'll need someone to like, okay, is that a mule deer or a whitetail? In the book, it looks so easy, but in real life, it's kind of hard. And
It can
is
get
that
tricky,
deer too far to shoot at, or is it close enough? Is this highway too close to us? Is the direction that we're firing good enough? Are we going to see any deer in this spot that like looks the same as every other spot? Having someone that even if they don't know is like anything, having someone else there is going to like double your learning speed and help drag the deer and help skin the deer, all that other kind of stuff. So you need someone who to be a co-pilot on that stuff. And then the really hard thing is getting access to land or knowing some good crown land that you can go hunting and actually see deer, right? Because all the best stuff near a city is going to be like hunted to hell. So you need to drive far. And then you also need to know like where to go. That stuff's all hard. That's probably the hardest part of hunting is finding a good spot. That's why so many people, when they find a good spot, they don't really share it.
Yeah.
Fair. You can see that. Similar to sport shooting, right? You need a mentor. Hey, don't do this. Your reload is kind of close to the 90. You want to watch out for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to take in if you just show up, right? It's going to be overwhelming.
But I think like if you just showed up to a shooting match, and you're like, this is my first time. I've never done with this. How do I do this? Someone's going to like jump in and help
Yeah,
you.
true.
The community is going to help you with all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I only brought 3 magazines. Like, you're going to need more. So we're going to go find someone who's got the same kind of gun.
Yeah.
We're going to put you on their squad. Like they'll go above and beyond on that kind of stuff. And they will make it easier for you, even though it's overwhelming, but you won't get that with hunting.
True.
No, but yeah, hunting is a lot more self-learned. But I mean, there's lots of good resources out there. Like one I would actually recommend is Remy Warren's Live Wild podcast. He focuses a lot on elk, but he has stuff on deer and working stocks, and like there's a whole bunch, like Corey Jacobson. Yeah, there's a whole bunch out there. Watch some good TV shows. Like Mike's saying, iHunter, absolutely for Canada, and you can get your landowner maps with that, so you can see what's crown and what's landowner, what's lease.
Oh,
And-
that's so hard. And yeah, iHunter makes that. It's well worth the money because just
Yeah.
knowing like, oh, that's a lease. I can go hunting there right now. And
Yeah.
oh, I need to call
Or-
a landowner. I don't need to call a landowner.
Is it too late to insert a side story?
No,
Go ahead.
There was this. So there was this 2 pieces of crown lease land very close to Calgary that I target shot on, and I got yelled at by both owners. Not so surprisingly, and there's this guy actually at the second shooting spot that wanted to stay because it's like surrounded 3-way, so there's no way someone's going to walk in front of me. There's only one entrance. It's a pretty small place, but for shotgun hand thrown clays, it's pretty decent. But just he confronted me. He was like, "I own this place, da 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 da," and I have to get the land coordinator controller involved, and she was confused. She's like, "You're target shooting there. You couldn't do that." And then she found her superiors. They said that I can, but then the guy started to gate the whole thing. I was like,
that's one thing
can
with
be a whole thing.
with leaseholders. They like, a lot of them like to think that they own and control that like 100%, and a lot
Yeah,
of
their
times
$100 per
don't.
year. Their $100 per year gives them like complete lord and dominion over that little chunk of land.
Yeah,
That's funny though, because that piece of land is where I blew up the gophers. It's like filled with gopher holes. There's nothing. There's like grass growing on it. That's it. Like grass that's this tall, not like feed grass or anything like that. Rocks all over the place, and he's like, "I'm growing stuff here." I'm not sure if he was like bluffing or he is like legitimately believed that that's his piece of land. He's growing stuff. I don't get it.
It might be
was
growing
weird.
grass
Yeah.
for hay for but on the off
could have
season.
been a grazing lease as well. But I mean, if you
No,
said
it
he was
was not
growing
grazing
stuff,
lease. I confirmed it's a no contact. It's like agriculture land, so it's really strange.
Huh,
I don't
weird.
go back there too often anymore, but if I need to emergency zero gun, I'll still show up.
Nice. Okay, so join us on our Discord server. Watch us on Facebook, YouTube, and Player. Join the CCFR. Very, very important. And see you next week. Bye.
see you
Later,
next week.
Good night.